Hello and welcome to another Overlord lore video, and today we will continue our little exploration of the Holy Kingdom arc. And last time the Holy Kingdom's Liberation Army had actually liberated something and was now about to conquer an entire Demihuman occupied city. But before we are going to take a look at the attack, let's take a look at my Patreons and thank them for supporting this channel. Furthermore, I say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. Also please check out my video about Espers, it's linked down in the description. Now with all of that said, the Liberation Army had now arrived at Lloyd's, a small city with a pre-war population of 20,000 people, that was now used to house many prisoners. But once again, seeing that the Holy Kingdom's army was approaching, the Bellfolk guarding the city pressured the Liberation Army by holding the captives as hostages and threatened their execution. But now that Remedios was sufficiently schooled how to handle such a situation, she surely will now ignore the threats and attack in order to show the Bellfolk that the lives of the hostages are worth nothing to the army, and that therefore the Bellfolk would also have to ignore them after killing a couple without any effect and focus their forces on the actual threat right in front of them. But once again Remedios went into a bit of a crisis. She didn't want a single hostage to die, and therefore she again halted the entire attack, thus giving the enemy time to prepare and reinforce their front line. And that's precisely when Ainz Ooal Gown also was annoyed, despite being literally cursed or blessed with an emotional dampener. He couldn't believe how fanatically Remedios resisted the obvious reality, and that one had to make a choice in the real world. One did not like or actively hated even, simply because they are the best courses of action, which once again left Ainz dumbfounded, and thus he was forced to take action himself. Together with his squire Nea, he stormed the city, summoned undead to take care of the Bellfolk, and was then ready to face the leader of the Bellfolk tribe itself, a particularly hardy specimen known as Buzzer. And while Buzzer thought of Nea Baraya as the master of Ainz Ooal Gown and believed Nea to be a particularly powerful necromancer, Ainz was ready to take on the Bellfolk in melee, for Buzzer was an apt melee combatant and therefore ideal for Ainz, in his sorcerer form, to fight as a little training exercise. And so the Sorcerer King summoned a halberd in order to duel with the Bellfolk. And now we learned something about summoned weapons. Normally, they were very, very brittle, at least compared to swords and lances made from actual physical matter. Additionally, the Bellfolk's hair was known for their unpleasant ability to dull even the sharpest of non-magical weapons. So obviously, Buzzer was quite perplexed once the weapon of the Sorcerer King did not dull or even shatter, despite the Bellfolk leader using his very own weapon-shattering techniques against it. And soon, the once mighty leader was dead, and to Ainz far more important, his equipment was now his to plunder. And he acquired some low-powered but still quite useful items. And even more importantly, the Holy Kingdom's Liberation Army has now finally freed the Crown Prince of the Holy Kingdom, Caspont Bezares, the good soul that abdicated just so that his younger sister would be able to ascend to the throne and usher in an era of peace and prosperity. Now with all of that said, at this point Caspont was already dead, like actually dead, and he was rolled into a preservation carpet in order to prevent his body from rotting, and in his place a doppelganger was installed, to be liberated then by Ainz Ooal Gown, which was a friendly reminder that Ainz Ooal Gown, or rather Demiurge, was in control of all sides of this invasion, the Liberation Army, the survivors, and the demons of course. But aside from freeing another pawn in this great and bloody game of chess, Ainz Ooal Gown again stumbled upon parts of Demiurge's happy farm, because he, as the demon emperor Yaldabaoth, and as himself of course, had experimented in order to find out how different species, or rather different orders of species, could potentially interbreed with one another. While it was no problem for an elf and a man to sire an half-elf child, since we have seen not only Zeshi but also Emina being a half-elf. And also we have witnessed that one short guy was likely the result of some dwarven blood in his lineage. All of these different species were part of the humanoid race, while the other two were part of the demi-human and the heteromorphs. And none of them could interbreed, that is, normally, which among other things would be a slight damper on Sebas and Tuar's abilities to sire offspring themselves. And Demiurge was now trying to find out how he could make this happening, and therefore he and his minions were transplanting organs from one species to another, or tried various insemination techniques. All of this was highly cruel, sadistic and bloody, and the orcs who had experienced all of this, and who in this universe looked more like pigmen, were so traumatized by all of this, that they happily accepted the offer of the Sorcerer King to move into the Sorcerer Kingdom, in order to get away from the entire war altogether. And that's pretty much it. Next time we will take a look into the consequences of this conquest, but for today, I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Arder Daddy Arder, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feral Shivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason Singage, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Loverazor, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, O'Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantum, Personage, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Cune Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rock Ed Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.